Everyone. Hey everyone, this is Matthew Brender. I am a developer advocate at Intel in the software-defined infrastructure team, and we get to play with some cool stuff that honestly doesn't overlap exactly with what we talk a lot about at VMworld, but I want to span that gap by talking about how your cloud can make pretty pictures like mine does. And that starts with a question of why. Why won't this go forward? There we go. Okay. Why do we want pretty pictures? When it comes down to it, we are visual creatures, and I think it's important to just start from that as a premise. When you're monitoring an infrastructure at scale, you can only run top on so many servers before your eyes get crisscrossed and you have no idea what you're looking for anymore. The other thing is when you start playing with scale, you need to understand what are the pieces of the puzzle, what is the signal and what is the noise, and that is a challenge when you start looking at systems holistically from your bare metal operating system, virtual machine, and application on top. And as we're all feeling these days in the virtualization community, you can't just know vSphere anymore. You can't just know one piece of the puzzle. You need to know networking or storage or backup or recovery or and. So we need to measure all the things, we need to visualize it. So here are a couple tools I've been playing with quite a bit. At Intel, we came out with something called Snap. It's a telemetry framework, which I'll get into what that means, but it's basically a system by which you can collect information from different layers and put it into a single normalized namespace behind one API. And that's really powerful when complemented by something that can visualize that information. So we're measuring all the things with Snap, and we're visualizing it with Grafana. Grafana is an open source tool I highly recommend everyone in our ecosystem use for some portion of what you monitor on a day-to-day. So we're really going down this path of a choose your own adventure of playing with making things prettier in our infrastructure by seeing information and visualizing it in meaningful ways. And if you're anything like me, you'll see the list of all these terms and you'll just be overwhelmed. Where do I start? What do I want? Why do I care? I'd say we should all care about telemetry. And telemetry, everyone's got their own opinion on what that could be at first, or at least their own perception when we say this. One of these good old memes of the different layers. My friend thinks is boring. My parents think it might be a band name from the 70s. Society, when you say telemetry, people think of geospatial or some sort of space shuttle launch sequence. When you say something like telemetry to a boss these days, they're like, it must be money, because if I measure all the things, we'll make more money, right? I think telemetry is just how I'm going to end up building my own Iron Man suit. I just need a HUD that maps everything and makes me super strong. And then what it actually is, as I'm digging into it, is the tool set that we've wrapped up into Snap. So let me show you a little of what that looks like. This is Grafana, the UI that I highly recommend everyone get used to and start playing around with visualizing information. And here we're running Memcached set of services. Memcached is the application on top of I think in this case we're running it on Docker, but it doesn't really matter. It could be in VMware. But each of these dashboards have information about everything from CPU statistics that are pulled right from the bare metal alongside the application statistics from Memcached. And you can see information from MySQL, PostgreSQL, and many other open source toolkits and proprietary ones as we continue to extend in the community. What's powerful about this is that you can start to see these patterns in meaningful ways and build graphs ad hoc as you need to start digging into more specific problems. So if we wanted to explore something at greater length and we don't know exactly what's happened, Snap can do this ad hoc query functionality where if you want to look for information and you weren't already persisting it, you can actually run a task right from Grafana and pull metrics off of a system that's running Snap. In this case, we're looking at used percentage of VM memory on a server, but you can think about this in a case where you're having a network issue and your granularity of your network monitoring is usually, say, like 1 minute or higher at times, or not the granularity you need to solve the problem that's happening right now. And then you can get down to 200 milliseconds and start to monitor things live without needing to set up new databases, without needing to set up new services. It's all available through a GUI with just these two tools tied together. And I think that's a powerful story because when we start building pretty pictures and being able to visualize information, we start to understand how to manage these things at scale, which we're all being asked to do more of. It's not just, this is my server, this is my one and only server. We have thousands of systems and services that we need to manage. I wanted to tell you a little bit more about the pieces. You'll have to excuse the alignment here. But RainTank is a company that's supporting Grafana in production for enterprise customers, and they're offering it as a service on grafana.net. Grafana.net's also a community, which is a cool place to go on there. So if you're wondering, okay, I'd like to manage the system, I'd like to monitor new things, but I don't know what to monitor and why, they actually have a community site where you download dashboards that other people have created, and you can figure out basically, oh, okay, so people that monitor MySQL on a day-to-day basis look for this information. You download that template and then go share your own. So we can start to share these pretty pictures so that we can connect the pieces between all the layers of the data center. Because the current view of the world is that you need to see all, like at least hardware, operating system, and application layers, and see them in two ways. I'm talking about the dashboards, which are tools for engineers and developers to get an understanding of their systems, but inevitably we're always asked to also push this into some sort of HDFS system or an analytics pipeline of sorts. So we end up with this spaghetti mess of dependencies, of all these little sensors talking to all these different layers, and not quite understanding or being in control of how that works. The goal is to have one tool, maybe one tool to rule them all with a single API. Yes, that was pretty cheesy. It's Snap. That's the thing I'm playing with here. But the reason that's powerful is because when we actually look at the world, there's always going to be another layer we want to capture. And being able to expand into that is powerful. So we're doing a hackathon tonight where we're going to play with wrapping code around the VMware API and start gathering statistics out of vSAN and vSphere. So if you want to come to that tonight, it's the VMware Code event. It should be fun to do that. So I'm hoping to fix that pipeline. But another thing I'm exploring is actually the world's flipping a little bit. We used to run virtualization right off the bare metal and then operating systems on top. A lot of people are moving to a lightweight operating system like CoreOS and then putting Kubernetes as a scheduler on top of that and then the applications on the top of there. And we're already working right now with the team behind Kubernetes to make Snap able to monitor pieces of that puzzle. So as we go into an ecosystem of containers, that will become more important. But I want to come back to the virtualization community and help us get there too and with our current state. But as we scale on a system like Kubernetes that should be that new layer, we want to be able to have visibility into all the pieces along the way. So there's a lot of really interesting parts of Snap that I'd want to dig into with you, but I don't quite have the time today. And it's also written in Go, so if you're learning new languages, if you're digging into new things, I think Go as a programming language is really fun to do. So if you want to get more involved, I highly recommend give it a go, give it a look, and if you want to talk more to me, I'm easily found on the Geek Whispers, which there will be more of here, and on Twitter and GitHub at MJ Brender. Thanks for your time.